Welcome to the DDT Archives Indy Lounge. I am your host, Chris. With me as always, even though I was scared you would no-show, Greg. What's going on, Greg?
You son of a bitch. No, I'm here. I'm doing all right, man. Sorry I was late.
It's okay. We'll forgive you this time. So our guest today is one of the hottest up-and-coming women's wrestler, Bryn Thorne. Bryn, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, no, thanks for joining us. Thank you.
So, as we were telling you, we are an old school wrestling podcast, and obviously you're significantly younger than we are. What are your earliest memories of professional wrestling?
You're gonna find this kind of funny. One of my earliest that I can possibly remember was when I was about 10 or 11, and I was at my dad's then girlfriend's house, and her son was super into wrestling, and he was a few years younger than me. And I would always kind of bully him for not really bully, just pick on him a little bit for liking wrestling, because I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny and stuff. But probably my earliest would be the Raw after WrestleMania 28. So you're like, oh man, that wasn't that long ago. But like, I'm pretty young.
That's okay. I mean, 28 is, it makes sense.
We all have to start somewhere, right? Like,
exactly.
It's funny because as we're recording this, they're showing the replay of WrestleMania 3 on Fox Sports, whatever, right now. And that's like my earliest memory. So, but it's like every generation has their deal. Like but it doesn't matter when you start. It's how passionate about it, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
WrestleMania 3, that was the first DVD, or not DVD, first VHS that I ran to the point where it could no longer play anymore.
Are you familiar with the VHS? As we're recording this from our nursing home.
I am familiar.
So, God. How did you go from making fun of him for watching wrestling to becoming a pro wrestler?
I always like to evaluate that thought pretty often, because it's so cool to like see where I started, becoming interested in it to actually becoming it. It just baffles my mind, like how crazy life can change like that. It was just like I started watching it more and more, and I'm like, man, this is actually kind of really cool. And I just got right in there, and eventually over time, a few years later, I started training, and it was just something I fell so deeply in love with, and I just had to.
So what was the thing that drew you to like wrestling? Was it just like the theatrics of it, the the athleticism, like anything in particular?
Honestly, like I loved the storytelling and, absolutely the athleticism and like, the theatrics for sure, because it's just like, it's a whole nother kind of show. It's its own thing. It's unique. Yeah.
Well, that's how we feel. Absolutely.
Definitely. How would you describe your time training?
I had kind of like an old school trainer. He was trained by Bill DeMott, and so he was like, he kind of brought me up more tough love, and he'd never treated me like a 14-year-old girl or a teenage girl. Like, he never treated me like that. He taught me how to wrestle like a man. So he treated me like a grown man, and that meant how he treated everybody else. He was actually harder on me than a lot of other people, and I feel like it's helped me grow as a wrestler. But it was hard sometimes. It was definitely a mental challenge sometimes and an emotional challenge, but it pushed me to be better.
So did you just insinuate that you started at 14?
I did start at 14, yes.
Good God.
Wow. That's the second story that we've heard this week. We had somebody that had to use a fake ID to break into wrestling.
That's awesome.
So that was, because New York you have to be 18 in New York, so you busted out a fake ID for a year.
Unbelievable.
The things we do. So talk about how you developed your persona, because obviously you come across larger than life for someone as young and early in the game as you are.
Well, thank you. When it came to like coming up with my persona, it's always just you, but bumped up 100%. So with that, it was like, okay, I have these characteristics about myself that are very aggressive, and I have fire to me, and I come off like resting bitch face, and I have like that aggressive side, and so I wanted to take that side of me and put that as like my main thing. So like Bryn Thorne, yeah, she's young and beautiful and from the desert, and but like she's got like that fire, and she's angry, and just young and angry. But it was just more so like she has this side of confidence, and then she has the side of aggression. So that's kind of like where I put it into play, where it's like, oh, she's just kind of like a chick with a grudge, kind of.
So my favorite promo that you have is the one where you're just going off on the company and then kick the garbage can, because it just reminded me of every girlfriend / my wife that I've ever been around when I do something stupid, and it was awesome.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
How do you script your promos in advance, or do you just come off the cuff with them?
I come off the cuff with them.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So the other thing that I find really interesting, and I'll be honest with you, up until I started talking to Jack Jameson, I really didn't know much about intergender wrestling. And, he the matches he sent us before we recorded with him were all intergender matches. And it kind of blew my mind, the storytelling that goes into it. Can you talk about what's fun about those types of matches and what challenges you face when you put them on?
For sure. So I was raised up in the wrestling when training. Like, I always wrestled guys. Like, so with me, like, the psychology that goes into wrestling guys and girls is different but similar. I thoroughly enjoy both of them, honestly. But, there's things that go into both of them, and it's more so just like, yes, there are challenges with it. You don't want to keep it unrealistic. You want to make it, realistic. You got to know who you're going up against, right? And so, like, it's weird. It's hard to explain. I love talking about it, though, because wrestling in intergender matches is one of my favorite things to do, because it really makes you challenge yourself even more. It makes you think, like, okay, like, how can I escape this one? Like, how am I going to beat this guy, or how am I going to beat this girl? It's a different kind of fun, in my honest opinion.
So, did you train with other women, like when you were coming up, or were you like the only girl in like the class?
I did. It was like more so a lot of more women came and went just as much as the guys did. As time went on, more women joined. But for the most part, I only had about at most one or two girls.
Wow.
That I was.
So you had no choice but to, like you said, you had no choice but to like get in there wrestling dudes.
For sure, yeah.
It makes sense. I always felt like, I never understood like the backlash with like the intergender wrestling and like the wrestling community, because I've seen so many girls fight in my life in real, and it's there's like women are just have so many of these tough jobs, whether it's the military or the police or anything like that, or even in combat sports. It makes sense. I don't understand. Like, does that bother you? Like when like people just don't know how to handle that, like the fans?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when you go out there and you're against a man, people are already thinking like she's going to get her ass kicked, or he's going to beat her up. They don't think that she's like the underdog. So like you have to like really get behind that and think like, okay, I'm going to get these people to understand the story that I'm telling and get behind it and see that, women and men can wrestle together and it can still be realistic.
How's the independent wrestling scene out in Arizona?
It's right now, like aside of Ms. Rona and everything, it was doing pretty well. There's a handful of promotions out here. Party Hard Wrestling, Arizona Wrestling Federation, my friend Zealot Pro, Championship Wrestling from Arizona. So there's a lot for for the Southwest in one state. That's a pretty good amount of companies. It took a while for all of them to like collaborate with each other, but Party Hard is a real good time because I mean, like, look at the name; it's Party Hard. It's going to be a party. Zealot Pro is a super competitive company. They're fantastic. I love those guys. And Arizona Wrestling Federation is like where I came from. I still work with them every now and then, but the independent scene out there is pretty decent. There's getting to be more wrestlers out there now, but it's a lot better than what it used to be for sure.
Do you enjoy traveling outside of Arizona to work?
Absolutely, yeah. I love going to California, LA, Oakland. I go to Vegas, sometimes New Mexico.
Nice. Yeah. At some point, you'll be able to truly enjoy Vegas. I promise.
Yeah.
Or not.
I've actually never been able to get out to Vegas. I always have an excuse not to go. I really should get on that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
So with the traveling out to these different places, do you encounter the same people on the loops, or do you come in contact with different workers from different areas and build like that database that way?
For the most part, as far as like traveling goes, yeah, you kind of see like the same people each time, especially in Vegas. California may be a little different, but Vegas is the same basically. Whoever you see on the card, like you're like, oh, okay, I know them, and if you don't see them, then you're like, oh, like I don't know that person. Then you're gonna meet a new person, but for the most part, yeah, you basically just on the loop.
How do the fans differ in different areas?
It takes a while for them to get to know you and get to like, especially if you're like up against a local, then it's like, okay, Vegas people are pretty cool. They seem to enjoy out of towners. California is pretty open as well. Same with New Mexico. They just come for a good time.
Well, that makes sense because, you think about like LA and Vegas, those are tourist towns too. So it's not like, I guess they're used to having the outsiders. We get that in New York too. It's like, we're tourist cities. So you get that mix of like different kinds of people all the time.
For sure.
Have you had the opportunity to work out east yet?
I haven't. I was gonna end up going before the coronavirus came along and ruined it, but I was gonna go to Denver and then Austin, Texas, and for the first time. So that was unfortunate, but I haven't been out east yet.
Okay.
No.
Well, I can tell you'll
hate the weather.
Audiences are different.
They are, that's for sure.
It's and you'll coming from where you are, don't come in the winter. You'll hate it.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I lived in Boston for 2 years. There was the one winter we had 102 inches of snow in a winter. Yeah, I moved south. I moved south after that.
Can't blame you for that. Although it gets into like 110 in the summertime out here.
I can take it.
No, I can't.
I see this thing. I'm an August baby. I'm not happy unless it's that hot. It's just the way it is.
I'm a fat guy. I ain't dealing well with 110 degrees. What are some of your favorite lessons that you've learned on the road?
I wouldn't say these are my favorite lessons, but they definitely are lessons for sure. If this comes mostly when I'm driving and I have to drive. You can't expect when it's like a unsaid rule to like help out with gas, but not everybody's gonna do it. And you can be like, all right, like you're gonna help me out. Like I just drove 5 hours, like, and you'll get snacks, but you won't help me out with gas. But that's cool. I guess. And I'll remember that. But you can't expect somebody to give you gas money, and you can't expect somebody to stay awake for you while you're driving so you don't fall asleep. So your co-pilot might pass out on you, for sure.
Yeah, that's no fun. You got to find a way to wake them up. They owe it to you if you're driving, unless it's a long ride with my wife, in which case she can go to sleep and I'll be at more peace.
Yeah, I mean I fell asleep on somebody one time when they were driving, and like I just woke up and we were like grinding on the road, and I was like, "What is going on?" And then he woke up, and I was like, "Oh my god, we just died."
Good God.
Crazy.
In the boys' car, you could lose an eyebrow falling asleep.
No.
Oh man, those were the good old days. So I really enjoyed your match with Joey Ryan. What was that experience like?
It was such a cool experience. It was my first time working with him, and it was a good time. We got to work together, and we made a fun match. The crowd loved it, and it was just a really fun time.
Now, somebody like him, who's a veteran, who's got a huge persona, does he, after the match, give you advice? Does he pull you aside and talk to you about what went on in the ring?
No, it was just like thank you, and from there, we just hung out, but he didn't really like give me any advice or anything like that. He was very nice guy though.
That's everything I've heard about him. Is he's an awesome guy. What are the locker rooms like in different areas?
In Arizona, I'm a lot more laid back. Mostly because like I'm the one from here, so like people know me a lot more. I suppose like I'm more known with the promoters and the wrestlers there. Most locker rooms are pretty laid back though, honestly. But Vegas is pretty laid back as well. They get crowded. A lot of locker rooms get very crowded. Some of them get smaller and smaller. Some of them are larger, but you get to talk to people a lot more and learn more when you're in locker rooms than if you were just out and about walking around though.
So this one was coming. We heard Jack's side of the triple threat match for the half ECW tag team championships, the WWF light heavyweight championship, and the Infinity Gauntlet.
That Chris doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't have a clue what the Infinity Gauntlet is, and I got made fun of mercilessly for on the episode with Jack.
Whoops.
And we're going to also talk to Heather, so we're going to hit all three of you with the same question.
We'll get all three sides.
What happened there, and how did this happen?
That was it was an unexpected experience that I thoroughly loved. I remember getting in the ring, and then I think it was him or her that got out and grabbed the belts. So both of them got belts, and I was like, "What the heck?" And so I had to go grab something, and I don't remember. It was so long ago. I don't thoroughly remember, but I know we defended them, and I know we fought for them for sure. And I just remember that it was such a unique experience, and I'm so glad it happened. We took the belts off Arizona locals at Zealot, and I just being like, "What the is going on right now?" But I'm like, I gotta fight for this though. Like, this is badass. Like, I gotta do it. And then even before that, as all this was happening, Jack and I got out and we went and hugged Heather's mom. I don't know if he told you that.
No, that part he left out. See, this is why we got to ask all you guys the different stories. This is great.
So as we're about to battle for the Infinity Gauntlet and these belts, and we're all getting serious, and we're like, all right, this is really about to happen right now. And everyone's like in shock, like, oh my gosh, like we're really about to do this. We get out, and Jack goes and grabs Heather Monroe's mom, and she lives in Arizona. And he hugs her and he's like, Heather's mom, and gets her over. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to now. And so I get out and I go and I hug Heather's mom. And I'm like, love you, Heather's mom. And then I go and we get back in the ring. And so like they're now chanting like Heather's mom and some stuff like that. Honestly, it was like one of the most fun matches I've ever had. Like our ref Odie was into it. We were all super into it. And the battle was so fun.
Where does that comedic aspect rank for you in terms of how much you enjoy it in the ring versus that angry female attack?
So like there's like a healthy balance there. So like I'm very, aggressive and as part of my character and things like that. But I also love doing comedy wrestling, and I thoroughly enjoy creativity in that. And I think that match was a very creative idea that I'm so thankful I got to be a part of, because it was honestly so funny to me that I'm like, oh my gosh, the Infinity Gauntlet and these two belts, like these are great. Like this is hilarious. And then we bring Heather's mom into it, and we do some fun spots in there that are really funny. Like I got put into a powerbomb position, but I grabbed the ceiling and I hung from the ceiling, and then like I was like kicking them and stuff. It was funny, but I've always loved being like super over dramatic about everything, and that like leads into like the part of like the comedy wrestling that I love. I love both. I love serious and I love comedy, because you can't be so serious all the time,
Absolutely.
Well, I honestly, from my point of view, there's nothing funny about that. Those are 3 completely legitimate prizes that you had to fight for. And but you know what? And that's one of those things where you can look back on that and be like, no one's ever going to do that again. And that's like your like one like thing you can say like you have over anybody that's ever wrestles in the history of Earth, is that nobody will ever be able to duplicate that.
That's for sure, and I love it.
What are some of the other matches that you've had that really stand out, that you feel like everyone, if they want to get to know you as a performer, they need to watch those matches?
Okay. I would for sure. I keep mentioning the same companies over and over, so I'll lay 2 of them down. 2 of my favorite matches that I've had most recently that I feel like have helped me show that would be from Zealot Pro at I think it was the beginning of March against Jay Vidal. He brought it out, and he fought and we fought, and he brought it, and I had to bring it right back, because it was such a good match. I don't really know how to like the words to describe it, but I tried different things in that match that I've never done before, and I'm so glad that I did, because it distilled new confidence in me, and to know that like I'm able to do those things, and it's definitely one worth checking out, because it was a crowd favorite for sure. And then the other one would be in Oakland at Glam, which is Guilty, Lethal, Action, Mayhem. It's part of like the Hood Slam crowd. And I wrestled Buggy Nova, and I love her. She was very easy to work with, very fun to work with, and she also brought it. So it was just a very unique match, to say the least.
So, looking back on, as a relatively younger wrestling fan and coming up in the business, who has been, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter, who's been kind of your greatest influences as you're like embarking on your career?
I've got a handful of really good influences. As I mean, does it have to be in wrestling?
It has to, whatever you want, anywhere. We're all inspired by different things. I'm sorry, this wasn't I'm the like the conversationalist. I'll throw follow-up questions on. I'm sorry. I know you weren't prepared for that one.
My influences, especially in the beginning with my gimmick, was Stevie Nicks. I love Fleetwood Mac. I love her style and things like that. And soon, like, I still kind of keep that vibe deep down, but like a lot of my influences come from like music and things like that. But I like aggressors. So like Paige was like a huge influence for me, big time. I love the way that Charlotte wrestles. I love like her athleticism and how she flows, and I just think it's something like she's very admirable. I have so many. I'm just trying to think, like, but I also like keeping myself original and try to be my own influence and inspiration for different things. But like my style is like my like physical style is kind of like a darker side. So like I like the darker colors and I like, things like that, but also make it unique in my own way.
That's funny. You said like I was watching like a few of your matches on YouTube, and I'm like, that's why I asked you, because I was trying to figure it out. But now that you said that, I was like, oh, that was it. I got it. But it certainly comes across. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So you talked about your growing confidence in the ring. Can you talk about your progression in terms of your confidence you have when you step foot in the ring from when you were 14, when you started training, to today?
Absolutely. So I think it's like a beautiful process, because like it took so much of like there was so much time and learning from my mistakes, and the more you wrestle in the ring on shows, the more you're going to learn. Because like you can only learn so much while you're training. You have to experience it. And some things you just can't be taught. You have to learn. So you have to like learn it on your own, I guess. But when I was 14, like there wasn't, I'm a young girl. So like there wasn't, much confidence there to begin with as far as like the wrestling went, because you're trying to learn. But like it has changed so much, and it's been such a great process. Like seeing how I am now, like I like knowing I can like walk into the ring and bring it and show and know that I am good and know that I'm good enough. Over these, years, it's been like a fantastic, like just timeline.
Well, you're not just good enough. You are very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For the record.
You can hang, man.
Yeah. How does it feel to know that there are young girls in the audience that look up to you?
Honestly, that's what it's all about to me. Like you want to be the reason that they want to do it one day. Like you want to be their drive and their inspiration. And when I've had like little girls come up to me after my matches and stuff and hug me out of nowhere, and it just melts my heart. 'Cause like I just, you'd anybody would want that, but I think out of all the things in wrestling, if that isn't one of the things that makes you want to do it, then I don't think you should do it at all, my personal opinion. But I think, being the reason, somebody wants to live out their dreams and be an inspiration is super important.
Oh, absolutely it is. In terms of what would you consider, obviously the little kids coming up and hugging you has to be towards the top of the list as well, but talk about some of your best experiences with fans.
My best experiences with fans, I have some fans out here in Arizona that have been a fan of me since day one. I'll say his name. His name's Andre. I mean, he'll probably listen to this, so I'll give him a little shout out. He has been my day one, like, fan. He's made these like beautiful signs for me that I didn't know he was making, and he let me keep one, and I thought it was just beautiful. And he's just and all the other fans in Arizona are also very supportive because like they want to support their local people. But as far like fans have always been very respectful with me. I've never really had any issues besides people yelling at you and whatever. But that's just how it is. But like most of the time, people are just like really glad to meet you, and I'm like, well, I'm glad to meet you too. Thank you.
It's always interesting interacting with fans, and I only can approach it from the athletic standpoint and the coaching standpoint, and I always preferred going on the road when I coached or when I played because I prefer to be booed, and just I always find it more fun to be disliked. And Greg can attest to this. I play the heel in real life. It's the truth. You like people. I can argue that I probably don't. Yeah. But which do you prefer?
As outside of, I'm kind of. I would say more so. I'm better at playing the heel. By far, it's just. Naturally, it's just who I am. A lot of the time, I'm like the silent but violent, just like what they say about farts, but I'm very silent but violent. So, like, but when it comes time, like it's go time, But naturally, like playing a heel just has always been better. I've always kind of not been the biggest people person, and I'm kind of very like reserved and it's like to keep to myself, but I'm not gonna be ugly to people for no reason unless I truly have to be. But
what is your ultimate goal in pro wrestling?
My ultimate goal is to not only truly be happy with the life I've made from it, but also to make a living off of it. Whether it's being signed by, a major company and making money off of that, or if it's just making money and making a living off of the independents.
What steps do you think you have to take in the next few years to reach that?
For sure, I just need to really get out there as much as I can. Boost up more on social media, improve my gear and things like that. Just more so self-improvement, which comes with time, obviously, but also, networking and things like that.
Well, we hope all this crap going on right now clears up sooner than later so we can get you back in the ring.
Absolutely.
So anything else you want the fans to know about you?
I don't have an OnlyFans. I will never have.
Which is why Greg is here, because if you did, Greg would be gone.
No. Like, is that, like, how insane is that's becoming a thing, in your opinion? Like, that is nuts to me. I can't even, like, process this.
Well, I'm all about it for other people. For me, I'm not for it. Not from my own personal self. But if other people want to do that, power to them. Like, it's their body choice. They want to do what they want to do. I support them 100%.
That's fair. It's just okay.
No, Greg, go ahead.
No, I'm not. I already shared my thoughts. I get it from like the person doing it's perspective, but like I think the other way is a little creepy. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not like whoever, like, yeah, what she said makes, Bryn, what you said made sense, but like from a guy who's just like, oh man, I'm gonna pay like 10. No, stop that. No, use your money other places. It's weird. I don't know. People I find,
it's the way that people are making money right now, so
that's good, and that's good. That's the positive out of it. I get it.
That is a positive.
That is the positive out of it. I get it, but I men are strange, and that's the bottom line. That is what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have found out that Greg is a prude.
I am not.
Go ahead, man. I've known you for 34 years. I can argue this till the cows come home. And we're in New York. There are no cows.
The terrible... You know what the truth behind that is like, my wife would probably agree with you. She would totally agree with me. Yeah. I'm very sheltered. This isn't about me. Know. No, get this off. Get the spotlight off me right now.
No, this is fun, man.
No, it's not.
You know, like, and now we see why Greg's scared of strong women.
I'm not afraid of, and I can't be that much of a prude. I'm having a kid in like 4 months. Like, second kid in 4 months, and like, stop it.
That's cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That still doesn't prove your point, though.
It does not at all. I like talking about it, I guess.
Greg and I had a healthy back and forth early on when we decided to do this, and I knew it would make him uncomfortable. I couldn't care less. People make money how they can make money. I knew my wife would be cool with it. Like, she knows, like, whatever. And he was a little strong in his opinion at first, but maybe now after this conversation he'll have changed his mind and we can open up our horizons to everyone.
Oh, listen, I already said that men are creeps, so it's fine. That's it. That's the last of it.
Okay, so we're gonna transition that into a question for Bryn instead of putting Greg on the spot. Do you get creepy DMs from fans?
Not as much as you'd think. I have definitely gotten them, though. I get the weird ones, like, people offering money for various, like, favors, and I'm like, what goes through your mind that makes you think that somebody's gonna accept that? But, like, you get, like, people that are like, can I buy your underwear, or can I buy your, like, used whatevers, or like your used socks, or your used gear, which is used gear is like, that's normal, but like, can I, like, it's I don't even know where to start with that one, honestly. I get them sometimes. I really do. Like, can you send me pictures of you kicking people? And I'm like,
just pause the YouTube video.
See? Yeah, I'm the bad guy now. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, that's
no, but it's like, it's weird. Like, I get some weirdos. I don't get any like unsolicited pictures or anything like that. But like, it's just like,
yeah,
weird. You get the weird ones for sure. You get some people asking for some really weird stuff.
I mean, I get it. So I'm gonna pull back the curtain, and Bryn told us to create a Instagram account. So Chris, like a good human being, listened and created an Instagram account. It took me 1 day to get my first creepy DM on Instagram.
Oh, I'm so happy that's the only account I don't run for this podcast.
Oh, it was so weird. Just out of nowhere.
Was she Russian?
No, it was not. It was just, it was clearly like one of those bot accounts.
Yeah.
But they hadn't changed the pictures yet. Yeah. So they had stolen somebody's account. They followed me and then said, "Hi, sweetie." But it was really just out of place, if you will. I just hit ignore and
good stuff.
Blocked them.
They're wild. They're wild.
Yeah. It happens, though, Thankfully, we try to avoid being the creeps. I mean, I'm sure Greg has some moments, but not me.
What is this?
Never. You know who the real creep is? Not here right now, but the real creep is Jack Jameson.
Really? Can you tell us some really good Jack Jameson stories?
Yeah, at least. Or one. Just one.
I'm trying to think. He's an interesting character, that's for sure.
He and I became friends in like a week, and now we text every day. like every day?
I just know, like, because I've only met him in person, like not very much. I know. Oh my gosh! So yeah, I have one. So he, for like promoting his barbecue show, he got like this panel at Phoenix Comic Con, and I was like, okay, that's badass. Like I'm like super hyped for this, and he got another wrestler to fly down and do it with us, and I had no idea until like the day of. I was like, what is this? It was an anime panel, and I was like, honey, I don't watch anime. What is this? And so like I'm sitting there with him and another woman who also doesn't watch anime, but we worked it out. We're just like, all right, let's just like figure this out, how we're gonna like make these people think that we watch anime that we don't watch. But we straight up, like, there's like a good amount of people there that were just talking about different characters and stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, why did you make me do it? I'm like, why? Like, I don't. You could have told me so I could study.
That's so mean.
I was like, okay, like this is cool. It's about like characters and stuff, and I'm like, wait.
And now it makes sense why you told him that you needed the questions in advance.
Yeah. I know. I'm like,
we weren't going to hit you
like,
with
I
that.
don't know what to expect from him. He's very unpredictable.
He's a good guy, though. His heart's in the right place.
He's a nerd.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It was like when we had him on, I think me and him talked about like video games and movies and stuff for like a half an hour, and Chris was just dead silent because he had no idea what we were even talking about. And it was like we had to like, let's do a wrestling question now. Like we had to like corral us back in because I could have talked to him about like any of that stuff for like hours.
For sure.
And we know which of the three of us talked to girls in high school. This guy. Go ahead, Greg. You went to an all-boys school. Go ahead.
It was that was kind of difficult. I'm sorry. Like, they weren't there.
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry, Greg.
It's fine. It was a very valuable experience, and I've met a lot of great friends that I still talk to this day, 20 years later.
But do they download the podcast?
What? So probably some of them do.
That's good. Hello, St. Joseph's Regional High School people listening.
Yeah, my alums.
Please tweet us.
Good. Yeah, tweet us out. We're all right.
We've really got on this shill game very well, Greg.
Yeah.
Very proud of us.
We're good.
So, Bryn, why don't you let everybody know where they can follow you in anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Bryn Thorne. It's just Bryn Thorne with an E. And then on Instagram, it's at Bryn of the Thorns. That's where I'm mostly at. And then Twitter, I'm Bryn of Thorns, which is just me basically liking and retweeting a lot of stuff that I find funny. I post a lot of memes on my Instagram story. I've been going on a hiatus with that lately, but I am a meme lord.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely whatsoever.
Not.
And you are our first Instagram follower, so thank you. We appreciate the support.
Well, I hope so. It was her idea.
It happened. So you can follow us at DDT Archives on both Twitter and Instagram.
And Facebook.
If you follow us on Instagram, we will follow back right now because, well, we need to get those follows up. You can follow me at Chris_DDTHSLB. And, we cannot thank Bryn Thorne enough for joining us. It's been a whole lot of fun talking to you about wrestling and your career, and we really can't wait to see where you go from here.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Best of luck moving forward. Thank you so much for hanging with us.